while I try my best. Hey, cover eyes.
And welcome inside to the opening drive. Nick Kosko, Mike Antosiewicz here with you every Monday morning, 8 to 9 a.m. Even though, Mike, our clocks say 9 o'clock already. I guess they forgot about daylight savings over here.
I believe they
did. You get an extra hour of sleep? I got an extra hour of sleep. It felt good on Sunday to get that extra hour.
Oh, I was up when because I think at 2, that's when David Simon, like 2 in the morning.
I think that's what it was. Yeah, it's like 2 in the morning.
I didn't actually get the extra hour because I went to bed after the adjustment happened.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But
so it was an extra hour of studying for you, essentially.
Yeah. I wasn't studying, but it was an extra hour of
extra hour of something.
Being awake. Yeah.
Of course it was. Well, we got a packed show today. Got Rutgers football on tap for you. Also some Rutgers wrestling as their season got underway over the past weekend. Nice little doubleheader for the wrestling and football team. And we also got some college football and NFL talk as well. It was a wild weekend in college football. Upsets around Ohio State going down.
Yeah,
down.
I could pretty much guarantee you that the 2 SEC teams are going to be in the college football
playoff.
playoff.
And it certainly seems like that at this point right now.
Barring any regular season loss for Alabama or Georgia, because I think obviously one of them will have to lose in the SEC championship game, but that's not going to be a big deal. If Georgia or Alabama has one loss, they're going to bring both of them in. Let me just finish this.
Of course.
Clemson, I think if they don't lose another game, they will be. I thought they were an upset alert this weekend for me. I know NC State just lost to Notre Dame at home, and Clemson was going to be a tougher test than Notre Dame, but nonetheless, I thought they were an upset alert. They won Clemson. It was a tough game. It was a close game at certain points. It was a tough game for them, but they came through. And then I think Oklahoma, I think they're probably going to be the 4th team right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities to go around.
No, team is going to be.
No, there's a lot of possibilities to go around. We'll break it down later in the show, but right now we'll start out with Rutgers football and Mike. Hey, they won again. Rutgers is now 4-5, 3-3 in the conference. This is the most conference wins that they've had in the Big Ten since 2014, their inaugural season, where they finished 3-5 in the conference. They finished that season 8-5 with a bowl victory. They overachieved. They overachieved that year.
That season, what were the 3? I don't think they overachieved that year. I think they actually had a
pretty
good team.
They had a good team. But I'm saying
Michigan.
They compared to the next 2 years, they overachieved.
Michigan.
It was Michigan, Indiana, and Maryland that year.
Maryland. Okay, I couldn't think of the third one.
So they beat Maryland in their inaugural Big Ten matches. So they beat Maryland again this weekend, and now they're 2-2 in the series. And this is a huge win, I think, for this program, Mike. Just based on what happened last year in Chris Ash's first season at the helm. Now this year, especially after the beginning of the year where they play well against Washington, you're thinking, okay, this team's definitely improved. They lose to Eastern Michigan, and you're thinking, great, same story, different year. Then they beat Morgan State, whatever. After that, lose to Nebraska, close game. Okay, competitive on the road, but still could have had that game. And they get blown out by Ohio State. I mean, destroyed, 56-0. And it's like, great. This team, based on that game, may not win another one the entire way. They might just finish 1-11 this year. Worse. Because they had a bye week at a good time, because after that bye week, they play Illinois and Purdue, which were circled as pretty much winnable games for Rutgers to start the year. But then you're thinking, well, they have to go to Illinois now, and you never know, because there's 2 basement teams going at it. But Rutgers goes on the road. They beat Illinois. They come back home and beat an improved Purdue team. They go on the road to Michigan, play well, obviously let it get away from them, but you're thinking, wow, this team has improved and they've taken strides despite not having any remnants of a passing game. And they go out and they do this on Saturday, Mike. I was very impressed. The defense played outstanding. I get they gave up 24 points, and I get Maryland was down to their 3rd-string quarterback, and they eventually put their 4th-stringer in.
And a banged-up defense, too. I mean, no Saquon Hampton.
Yeah, no Saquon Hampton, no Swan Austin.
I mean, your 2 best players, not only on the defense, not only in the defense secondary, but on the team, really.
Yeah. No, and they managed to contain Maryland. They contained them, and you look on the offensive side, they ran the ball really well. They had over 200 yards rushing. So that really carried them throughout the game. And it seems like, I know, Mike, that Rashino, the passing game is just not there. It really isn't. Jerome Washington's the most reliable target, and even he dropped a couple balls on Saturday. Hunter Hayek has emerged maybe as a more reliable target, but they still don't throw the ball enough. But what I saw from the offense, not only could they run the ball really well, Mike, they were able to keep Maryland's defense on their heels because the mobility for Gio is back. It's so it seems, because he seems to be healthy, and he was running the football pretty well, and he even scored a touchdown to tie the game up early on. And I thought Rutgers played one of their more complete games throughout this entire season. And just going back to the ramifications of this victory, you look at what Rutgers was able to do against Maryland. Mike, now they have 3 Big Ten wins. They're already at 4 this year, so they improved their win total from last season already. This was a huge win considering Maryland and Rutgers came in at the same time into the Big Ten Conference. Maryland came from a more esteemed conference, the ACC. Rutgers coming from the Big East / AAC. And when you look at these two teams now, they were on similar paths when they hired their head coaches, DJ Durkin at Maryland, Chris Ash at Rutgers. And this win, not only was it even the series, there were a lot of recruits there on Saturday, and they have to say, hey, Rutgers can win a big game like that at home in front of a decent crowd, a blackout game. I'm sold. If I'm a recruit that's coming to Rutgers, and it was maybe deciding between Rutgers and Maryland, I'm sold on Rutgers right now because of the way that team fought for Chris Ash. And the way Ash has been able to coach this team. The defense now stepping up. The special teams looking pretty good. Offense still a work in progress. But these guys have to think, I'm an offensive skill guy. I can add so much more to this team next season because the offense is so young. But we have an experienced defense and special teams that's really helping us win games. I think I'm sold on. If I'm picking between Rutgers and Maryland right now, bias aside, I'm going with Rutgers right now. That was a huge victory.
And this is not me being pessimistic. I don't know. Listen, Maryland is ostensibly on a better track than Rutgers. They have those quarterbacks. There are those injuries to the quarterbacks. If those if that first-string quarterback was there, Rutgers probably loses that game by 2 touchdowns.
Of course. I'm not going to deny that.
Let's be honest there. I don't think this is going to change the dynamic between the two teams. I do think, though, it makes Rutgers a more appealing option to some recruits. I think
that was the goal. I think at least make it that.
Yeah, but it doesn't do that in the way you said. It doesn't do that because it changes Rutgers' relative standing to Maryland. It does. I
think it helps. I mean, you don't have to necessarily say. I can almost retract my statement. You don't have to say Rutgers is better. You don't have to say Rutgers is a better destination right now than Maryland, but you could say Rutgers now kind of closes that gap because they need to win these recruiting battles with Maryland. It's going to be hard to do it with Penn State, but these Jersey guys, Mike, are going to Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State. And I get those are more appealing schools,
but they're not going to Maryland. That's my point.
But they are going to Maryland. There are people that are going to Maryland where Rutgers is going to recruit in state and also around this tri-state area. They need to steal some of those guys. I mean, people are cherry picking.
Listen,
Jersey recruits to go to their schools, and Maryland's doing the same. Maryland is keeping their guys home. Rutgers needs to keep their guys home and maybe cherry pick around the tri-state area as well. To keep guys from going to Maryland. Right now, Maryland facility-wise, and as you mentioned, if they had their first-string quarterback, they probably win that game. Maryland, in some ways, is a more appealing option, but Rutgers has to close that gap, and I think they took a big step towards that by winning this game, and they've shown tremendous improvement over the last year. And I get they're only beating Illinois, Purdue, a bad Maryland team right now, and they might beat a bad Indiana team this year. But Mike, you got to realize. They have to beat those teams to get out of the basement. They were in the basement last year. You look at this year, I mean, if you look at overall conference record and you put them 1 through 14, Rutgers is right about 8th or 7th. They're right in the middle of the pack now. That's where you need to be after last year's debacle.
No, I know. I don't disagree with everything you're saying. With anything you're saying, my point was just about in regards to Maryland. And quite frankly, they're not taking so many Jersey guys, right? If Rutgers really needs to close that gap in terms of Jersey recruiting, isn't Maryland, it's in the Ohio State. If you get 2 of those 4-star New Jersey guys that Ohio State's taking, then that would be a big deal. It's not, Maryland is not taking the cream of the crop in New Jersey. It's important, and I've said this for the last 3 years, that you need to get in front of Maryland so that you're not in the basement of the Big Ten for perception reasons, for reasons of aesthetic. But I'm not sure that the recruiting battle is going to be something that really is going to hold Rutgers back if Maryland wins that. Where Rutgers really needs to turn the table, so to speak, is make Rutgers a Jersey destination. And that obviously isn't the case yet. And beating the Marylands aren't going to do that. Winning a bowl game, that'll do that. And of course, winning a Maryland would be part of that. But I don't think we could. I think we need to steer clear of overreading into the significance of this one. I
don't want to overread. I'm saying it's a big victory, though, in the sense that this team has battled and they now they're winning these close games. And even Ash said before in his post-game presser that they might have not even won this game earlier this year.
No, again, there's clear improvement for this team. Clear improvement. They're playing complete games, which is something that has not happened before the Illinois game. Has really not happened during the Ash hour in win or loss. Actually, that's not true. There's been a few close losses last season that I could honestly say that Rutgers played a complete game. They just got edged out in the end.
Minnesota, Indiana, name a few last year.
Minnesota and Indiana.
And Iowa.
Forward, but one issue,
Mike, Rutgers. It's kind of crazy to think about, but Rutgers conceivably could have had 5 wins last year if they beat Iowa, Minnesota, and Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, if Jadarian Grant gets the touchdown, doesn't get injured that game, perhaps they do come and win that one. Yes, I mean that goes to show you how close a 5-win team is away from a 2-win team, or a 2-win team is from a bowl team.
Well, they're much closer to a 5-win team this year.
And then, again, and just these very, very little minute things. I think
there's your standings right there. We just see them on the TV right there. I mean, I know they're only above Maryland and Indiana, but they're only a game behind Michigan, a game behind Penn State. And I mean, you're not going to beat the top 4. Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. You're not going to get by those top 4. It's going to take a long time before you even jump one of those teams. But if you stay out of the basement in your own division, namely just beating up on Maryland and Indiana, Mike, if Rutgers went 6-6, between 6-6 and 8-4 for every year the next 10 years, and as long as they are above Maryland and Indiana, and maybe occasionally knock off one of those big 4, I think people are going to be satisfied with Rutgers in the Big Ten, and you'll be in bowl games. And that's what they need to strive for, and that's when you say this is a respectable program in a very tough conference. That's really what I think. And I know Chris Ash was asked about bowl games in his post-game presser, and he had a very interesting answer when talking about bowl games.
I don't even want to talk about that. I don't want to hear about that. I'm worried about letting our players celebrate this victory. We got a huge game next week. We go play a really good team next Saturday. In a really tough environment, a team that just obliterated us last year. We got to worry about getting better. That's our focus. That's been our focus. And I know fans and me want to talk about that stuff. We're not talking about that one bit here. It's about celebrate this one, show up tomorrow, reset our focus, and just try to keep getting better.
Now, I don't want to – I'm not going to deny his answer. I mean, he's got a point. And, Mike, you look at it, they were obliterated by Penn State last year, and I'm glad his focus is already on Penn State. As I get, this is a game this coming weekend that they're probably not going to win on the road. And even though Penn State has lost 2 in a row, but they lost to 2 great teams, Ohio State in Ohio State, and they lost to Michigan State,
which is now the leader of the Big Ten.
Yeah, but Michigan State seems to be the best team in the Big Ten, but maybe them in Wisconsin. Yeah. So I can see where the focus is at. But, I mean, in the back of his head, Mike, I got to think Chris Ash is thinking, oh, my God, if we win one more game out of these next 3, we'll have 5 wins, tremendous improvement over last year, and we'll be right on the cusp of a bowl game. You got to remember, Mike, if not enough 6-6 teams make a bowl game, they go to the 5-7 teams by that APR ranking, which is based on academics. Rutgers is right near the top. And I would think they would get in to a bowl game at 5-7 if there are spots available.
Yeah. Well, what has been my mantra for the last few weeks? The metaphor I've been using, Nick?
Just get the 5 wins.
No. It's been put the fishing line in the water.
That's right. The fishing line.
And if you get the 5 wins, you put the fishing line in the water, and then you
might get a bite.
Happens.
You might get a bite.
You might get a bite, and that's what they have to do on so many different levels. I think they have to take more chances. They're good enough now where they could take more chances. Doesn't mean they have to take stupid chances, but they could take more chances. Just one thing I want to mention.
Hang on, if they made a bowl game, Mike, and they lost, maybe say they even get killed, hypothetically, is it a successful season?
Oh, I think
yes.
I think a 4-win season is a successful season.
It's already successful. I think so.
Yeah, I think it's already
because
successful.
they have Penn State and Michigan State left. Penn State's on the road, by the way.
Now if they get blown out, actually that's not true. If they get blown out 60-0 these next 3 games,
that's a little different.
Then in fact,
I'm not expecting this game this weekend to be that close against Penn State. But if they're competitive, at least to an extent, like against a Washington or a Michigan, I'm totally fine with that. Because Penn State's a tough place to play anyway, and they're a good team this year. If they can beat Indiana or lose close on the road, fine. Michigan State's Michigan State. It's going to be tough. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll talk some Rutgers Wrestling as they also won over the weekend in the wrestling football doubleheader over Maryland. So make sure you keep it locked. You're listening to The Opening Drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org. Welcome back inside The Opening Drive. Nick Kosko, Mike Antosiewicz. Just gave you a little lowdown on Rutgers football. We'll go to Rutgers Wrestling now, so we'll stay here in the university. It was a good day, Mike. Rutgers Wrestling gets the big win pretty much handily, and then you see Rutgers football get that victory over Maryland as well, so they swept. And even, how about shout out to the Rutgers men's basketball team. I know it was an exhibition, but they beat St. John's with 2 seconds remaining yesterday.
And that's big.
That's big. And again, I know it's an exhibition, but hey, win's a win. Gotta like the progress. All right, Rutgers Wrestling, Mike. Some debuts, some returns, a lot of good stuff happening. Some negatives you could take out from that match, but I would say overall, Mike, the match on Saturday, which we were broadcasting Matt's side, mostly positive. Overall, a good day, but there's still room for improvement, and there's also a big what if. Namely Anthony Ashnault. What is his status moving forward this season? Will he be back? When will he be back? Can they survive without him? There's a lot of questions there. But we could start right now with Nick Suriano. And Coach Goodell had a lot to say about him right after the match. And I think, Mike, we were both thrilled about his debut. He looked great. But I think Coach Goodell said it best after the match when he was asked about him.
He fed off it. Maybe our first time in a Rutgers single, our guys kind of looking at it like, wow, this kid can really go. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, that's Suriano, and here we go. And that's kind of, our guys fed off it, so that was good. And I think we have a really good 1-2 punch, 25 and 33. It's going to win a lot of matches. So get you a good start and got the crowd into it. And I know they were fired up to watch him wrestle, so it was good.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, Mike, when we were watching him, I know he trailed, what was he, trailing 3-2 early, but then he just exploded, and he just could not get taken down. He took guys down. He took him down. He took Brandon Cray, from Steiner. He's actually a Jersey kid. Took him down, let him up, took him down, let him up, and he won, 24-7? I forget what the final score was. It was something ridiculous like that. He just destroyed Brandon Cray. I think that's exactly what you wanted to see from Nick Suriano in his Rutgers debut.
It was interesting to me because he gets the first takedown, and then Cray actually got a takedown at one point.
It was like a reversal.
It was a reversal,
right?
Excuse me,
Yeah.
right? And so then it was tied with like 45 seconds into the match, and thinking to myself, he did not expect this to happen, but totally calm, got to his feet, got the escape, and then just completely dominated Cray for the rest of the match. And I was really happy to see that because I was worried about how he was going to respond. Not that he couldn't respond, or I was never in doubt that he was going to lose the match. I just thought that, he's in a situation he didn't think he was going to be. He had all this hype. Now he's tied because of a dumb reversal call. What's going to happen?
Yeah, you wanted to see what his response was.
His response was perfect. I mean, absolutely perfect. He just stood up and got a bunch of takedowns. What's also interesting for me is looking at him offensively and analyzing his offense. A lot of people have been talking about in the program, that is, his offensive improvement from last year. And I try to ask him at the Wrestling Media Day, no, Nick, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to be one of those guys that has 20 different moves, is completely versatile, and could come at somebody at 10 different angles? Or are you trying to get 2 moves down and just work them to death? And he said, you need to do a little bit of both. He's kind of ambivalent on the issue. But him and Richie Lewis, I think, are very much the same wrestlers in one sense, in the sense that their footwork is impeccable. I know people talk about Richie Lewis rests his arm on his thigh at certain points. It doesn't matter at all. His footwork is impeccable, and they out-position guys. They're especially for Soriano. He is so low to the ground. You could never take a reshot on him because there's nothing there available. Nothing's open to take, right? And then you just move your arm an inch too high. He's already down in there.
And
it's really impressive. So it's not even moves about Soriano. It's just about
position. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's gonna be really interesting to see now what happens, against the Tomasellos and the Cruzes, because it seems like he's gonna be able to neutralize whatever they try to do. Now, just being in a better position than Cruz probably isn't going to win you the match. He's going to have a better offensive move, but my point is, it could definitely take away some of his Cruz's offense. We're just watching now the Soriano match.
Yeah, it was a weird shot, but you make a lot of good points there, right there, Mike. Just watching Soriano, his technique, as you mentioned, is impeccable, and just watching him in neutral, excuse me, he is, as you mentioned, so low to the ground, but he
never crosses his feet.
I know,
but really,
one thing I find
footwork.
interesting, he's a 125 pounder. He's a bit of a smaller guy, but obviously, he is ridiculously strong. He's probably one of the strongest guys in the room anyway. But because he is so light on his feet, even though he's so low, he's got a scary length to him with his arms. He's able to keep guys distance just enough so they can't even get close to him. And because he's so strong, guys can't shoot low on him or even get to his legs because he's so strong. He's also so low to the ground. And then he is so good at countering. That's what I noticed his entire match, the entire way. When he was in neutral,
he wrestles almost like a heavyweight in a sense that
if you look at that.
He's on the head.
We're watching right now.
He's going to have
he's
hot
always on the head.
thighs. Yeah.
He was always on the head throughout the entire match, and he'll counter you. If you try to shoot on him, he'll counter you. The headlocks come in, and then he'll bring you down to the mat, and then he'll just throw you away, and he'll spin to the bag, and all of a sudden it's another takedown for him. He's almost like he's just toying with your head, and then it's a football tackle. The guy, to me, what I saw it could be just depending upon who he wrestles, but what I saw from Soriano on Saturday, he was just toying with Cray. I don't think he took that many direct shots. It was a lot of countering and a lot of front headlock work, which resulted in those big football-type takedowns where he's just throwing the guys to the side and he tackles them at the hips and at the side, and it's easy. It's almost too easy for him. I found that very impressive throughout the entire match on Saturday. And if we go down the line now, Delvecchio looked good. Obviously, a slow start the first 30 seconds a minute, but he picked it back up, so he looked good. I think we both thought Mikey Van Burr looked good. Probably should have won his match over Deal.
Let me say this.
Go ahead. Let's talk about him real quick.
Ashnault obviously is a huge boost, but I'm not sure that. If you look at the schedule,
there's not much of a drop-off between those two.
No, listen, there's a drop-off.
Here's my thing.
My point is, if you look at the schedule, I don't think in the matches where it's going to I think Rutgers honestly has the same record with Van Burl. They might not attain in the postseason their aspirations without obviously with Ashnault, because Ashnault's so experienced. He has higher aspirations than Van Burl. But for example, outside of the Iowa match, I really don't see where it's going to make a huge difference not having Ashnault. Ohio State is really, really good. I don't expect
the only
them
thing that would change
to be that much.
The only thing that would change
Iowa, you want Ashnault because of
of
bonus
course.
points.
I'm saying
That's where it becomes really
the only thing that
important.
would change in the Ohio State match would be it's McKenna versus Van Burl or McKenna versus Ashnault. That's the only difference. And I would say McKenna probably has Van Burl's number in that match.
Oh, but McKenna definitely has Van Burl. Did he win the wrestle-off? Are we officially...
I have not heard anything else on that. He won the first wrestle-off, got injured in the second match. It was a best of 3. I have not heard anything from him yet, or from that realm over there, so it still remains to be seen. It's still up in the air. I haven't been too in tune with Ohio State's status with McKenna at the moment. But also, Mike, and we'll talk more about it as the date gets closer, but even for Penn State, Mike, 141's a toss-up for Penn State, but they have this kid, Nick Lee, who might redshirt or might not redshirt. He's really good, and people are picking him that he's in that All-American conversation already, and he's a very young kid, but just if Penn State just adding more to the arsenal, but obviously we'll get more into that as that day gets closer. And we'll keep moving down here as we wrap up Rutgers Wrestling here. DeLuca looked pretty good. Wasn't too shocked at how well he looked, how good he looked, but his length is definitely going to be an advantage this season. He's a little bit unorthodox, but I think I like that. Obviously,
before we move to 57, the Vecchio concerned me because
in the beginning, yes.
He told me right when I was interviewing him, and then Coach was here, and he told us the same thing. Oh, he needs to start faster. He needs to be out there scoring points. He needs to be aggressive. He needs to be active. He went out there, Nick, and did not do any of those things and got taken down first by a kid that he was clearly superior to. That has to stop now. Has to stop right now.
It's almost a good thing he beat him pretty handily.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just
fine.
something in the past. It's just something in the past.
Of course, but
I don't think there's going to be a mental aspect to this that lingers.
It's been a problem, though.
But my point is, I don't think there's a mental aspect of this that's going to linger, that he's going to go out against Iowa and he's going to be thinking about this match. Oh, I completely messed this up. That's not going to be the situation. But
but he knows he has to start fast.
He needs to start breaking
habits.
Because he's good. He needs to start breaking habits. And he broke those habits last year at the very end. And then, of course, there's a questionable call in the Big Tens in his match against Zane Richards. He really won that match, but they took it away from him.
Of course. We know.
That's fine.
We know.
It's over now. But he needs to start breaking habits, right? And Coach told us, Coach said this at the end of the press conference, and then Our Vision interviewed Richie Lewis, and he said this at the end of his interview with Our Vision. This team needs to get better, and the way you get better is you create better habits and you get rid of old habits, right? Everyone needs to do that on this team, no matter who they are, what their experience is. I'm sure Sirianni goes into that room every day and says, I need to do something better. I need to make it habitual, make it something that I do. And it's just a habit that the Vecchio needs to break because he's really, really, really talented. He looks really, really good. And again, it wasn't like a mental thing. Like he came out there and he didn't look ready for the match. It looks like that's just how he begins wrestling in matches.
Just a little
it's not,
slower.
You know what I mean? It doesn't look like it's a mental
seems like
thing.
it's a little
It really
slower.
just seems habitual to me. And he needs to get over that. But let's go now to
of course.
go to 57.
There's not much to say other than he looks good. He's a showman. He gets the crowd into it.
And
Richie
again,
Lewis is the man here.
Just like Sirianni, outposition people, footwork is key. His footwork is excellent. He never ever.
I'm not worried.
crosses his feet.
I don't have to worry about him at all. He looks really good right now.
And again, what I wanted to say, and I might have said this on the air, Nick, was that he set the tone of the match just by not even
coming
circling, just by moving laterally. He set the tone of that match.
Coming out.
Now, granted, it was against Kyle Cochran, a true freshman, two-time state finalist in Jersey, won a state championship. But still, he set the tone just by his positioning, and that was really impressive to me. One note, though, on Cochran, because he's a Jersey guy. Let's give him some credit. He's way too thin for 57. He's that long, lanky body. He needs to go up at least to 65.
I'd say so.
Van Brill, I thought this would be the situation for Van Brill last year, but Van Brill has hidden strength, right? Cochran doesn't have like a Van Brill strength. He needs to put meat on him, and he needs to get up to 65 moving forward for him. And I'll be interested to see what happens once he does that.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not worried about Richie Lewis at all. I think he's in the right state of mind. He's a showman. He waved to the crowd twice before the match even started. The guy is confident beyond belief right now, and that's going to help later in the year. John Van Brill looked good. I mean, not much competition right there, but tech fall, quick. The backflip at the end was pretty nice. Hopefully he didn't break his neck. I was just hoping he didn't break his neck. That's pretty much it. Van Brill looked good. Before we get into the negatives of this match, we'll continue with the positives here. Nick Gravina, to me, is we know he's tough, but...
Oh, are we skipping over the really big negative?
We'll get back to the big negative,
okay.
But I want to focus on these positives right now. Nick Gravina, we know he's tough, Mike, but he dislocating his shoulder in the middle of a match, screaming in pain, gets it popped back in, and he wins anyway.
I thought, Nick, that something happened
to his knee.
I thought something happened to his knee, or I thought something literally happened where like his groin just tore in half.
I thought so.
And
by his positioning, I
thought,
oh
my
scared.
God,
I was scared.
They're not going to be able to move him. That's what I really thought.
Yeah,
Because I thought
that was really bad. But Coach Goodell even praised his toughness right after the match.
Seeing it, usually it comes out in practice. It's a week off. It's very rare it comes out in a match and he keeps going. I think he did it a couple years back in Minnesota, maybe. But that's a really good kid he beat too. That's not. Comes out and then all of a sudden match strategy plays a really important part of it, and not picking bottom, something he didn't want to do, and maybe because of the injury. But man, that's gutsy. I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. That's a lot of guts right there.
Guts is the name. Guts is the word. Nick Gravina, we know he's a cold.
Gravina Guts. There's an alliteration there.
He's
You
a
see that?
cold, as I said before, Mike. He's a cold-blooded Italian, not Italian, Italian. Did you see him sport the beard too? I thought it was pretty. I think the NCAA lifted that rule now. You're allowed to have facial hair now.
I think Richie Lewis had facial hair too.
Well, I mean, you're always allowed to have a mustache. The beard though, on the neck and the chin.
One thing, and
He just looks so tough, and he Mike, we were scared. We were
But
worried.
why not just wear a shoulder brace? I don't understand it. Or
I really think
something
it
on that
prevents him from.
shoulder.
I really think it prevents him from being totally free of a limitation.
Nick, he couldn't move an arm yesterday. He couldn't shake hands with the guy because of his shoulder.
What do you want me to? I'm not Nick Garino. What do you want me to
So
tell you?
you're telling me that not being able to use one arm over, using one arm in a limited fashion.
Mike, if you're
come on, Nick,
Mike,
just put something on that
Mike,
arm.
he only wore a brace last year because the shoulder was in vast pain after dislocating it maybe a couple
I'm telling
times.
you, it's going to be in a vast pain. I guarantee he woke up on Sunday and that shoulder.
Yeah, I'm
my
sure
God,
it is.
did
So
hurt.
maybe now he'll wear a brace. But Mike, if you're fully healthy, there's no reason to wear a brace. That's my argument. That's where your point. That's where your
he's
point
never
is
going to be
moved.
fully healthy. Coach has told us that before. He was
I
sitting here and telling us
understand that,
He should be
but,
wearing a
but
brace.
if you're 95% with that shoulder and you're still
You're not
dominating
gonna be
kids,
95% with that shoulder.
If that's what he was going into the match, then dislocated. What do you want? What do you want? He didn't wear a brace. It happens. He'll probably wear a brace now.
Listen,
He'll be in pain.
I just hope because the kid has a lot of talent, and the last thing I want to see happen.
It's him go down. Yes. Of
No,
course.
no. It's not even that. It's the moment. We should consider the moment because Coach told us about he's wrestling Miles Martin and something happened to the shoulder and he had to end that match. There's going to be a few really big matches for him this year in the regular season before we even get to the postseason.
Yeah.
And then the postseason,
Yeah.
it just gets bigger for Nick Arena, right? The stakes just get higher. And the last thing you want to see is him up 3-2 with 1:45 seconds remaining in the
All American status on the line.
yeah, not even All-American status, just a big match against the ranked opponent, and 1:45 seconds remaining in the third period, right? And, the shoulder just comes and pops out, and then it's done, and he has a victory. I mean, that would be disastrous. And that could even happen with a brace, but just take the chances. Wear the brace.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll monitor it and they'll do the right thing. Kevin Mulligan at 197 looked really good in his debut. I thought he was pretty dominant for the most part. I mean, it wasn't the best opponent, but Kevin Mulligan looked pretty good, and obviously you're going to see more from him in order to kind of go against what Goodell said. He was unsure of what was going to happen with Kevin Mulligan this season, considering he was 28-8 last year, unattached, but no varsity experience. Now he has it. Looked really good. Looks bulkier now. Still lengthy. It was very hard to even touch him, not even take him down. The guy couldn't even get to him. So Mulligan looked really good. Now I'll go to the negatives here, Mike, and we'll start with Gross because it's really quick. He lost. That's it. But that was a good kid. Hermine is a really good wrestler.
Yeah, my one criticism of Gross
Gross
was,
is not aggressive enough right now.
No, it wasn't even that. He had he had a headlock a few times. He had his arm over.
This is what I mean. He was using headlocks to just hang on.
Yeah.
He didn't use them to try to score.
Now, quite frankly, he could be in here and be like, guys, the guy is 7 inches taller than me. Just keeping my arm around his head took every ounce of energy.
And I'm not going to blame. I will not blame him for that.
And I could not
Guy's a good
physically
wrestler.
snap him. Maybe that could be the case. I just wish he did snap.
And I get it.
That's my one criticism.
Of course. And Mike, and I know heavyweight scores are generally just lower. They're lower scoring matches, but he only lost 3-1.
Yeah, no,
He was in the match. He was in the match. And, I think that last year, Mike, if he wrestled that match last year in his debut, pinned
But
or
let's
killed.
say this though, he did look a little winded at the end.
Oh yeah, I think the conditioning I think has to get up. He looked winded. I think it also has to. I think you have to factor in that he was thrown twice, one on the turf and one into the table. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he was just getting antsy about that. So maybe that had a factor. But I think he'll be fine. He'll be a decent wrestler this year. He'll win some big matches, I think, and he'll be in some close ones this year with some good guys. All right, the big negative, Mike. Before we wrap up Rutgers Wrestling, it's Jordan Pagano, and my goodness, he looked awful. I hate to say it, but he looked awful. I think this kid is really good, but he looked awful. He lost to a kid, Josh Ugaldi, who was a really good wrestler in high school from Bound Brook, New Jersey, state champion. But he went to Maryland for some of these Jersey guys go to Maryland for a reason because they can't make it here. In my mind, And Pagano came out. We said it last year in the whole offseason leading up to this match, Mike. Jordan Pagano can be so good. But he somehow only wins the matches he's not supposed to, and he loses the ones he is not supposed to lose. He's in that frame right there, and we kept saying he might lack a little confidence, and he might not believe he's as good as he is. He looks much better physically this year than he did last year. It's like night and day.
No, but not even between last year and this year. Just that, if you look at the two wrestlers, Ugalde is stubby. Does not have a great physique to begin with.
He looked like he wasn't that great.
And quite frankly, he looked.
Granted, Ugalde's probably in really good shape, but but the appearance doesn't look like that.
No, he looked around the midsection. He looked pudgy. I mean, let's face it. And again, he's kind of short stature, and then you have
Pagano, who's huge.
Pagano, who's huge, who looked. He looks so much
He's
more muscular
ready.
this year. He looks ready.
Oh my goodness!
And it just it was like when you turn the key and the ignition doesn't start. It was like that.
I've had that happen a lot with my car.
Yeah, you heard that happen a lot with your car. But
I think you might have been in the car when that happened.
It was like you saw him like, oh God, he looks so much better. You put the key in the ignition, then it was.
It stutters.
It stutters, and nothing. It didn't click.
You hear the click. You just go. That's it.
That's what. That's
he's going to drop
what
the rank. You know he's going to drop from the rankings.
Oh, he's going to be out of the rankings.
He'll be out of the rankings.
I guarantee you, he will not be.
There's no way.
Now.
He was 16th, and I think.
And I don't even know how he.
How do you recover from that? He needs to.
He needs a big win, but my point is, Virginia. He has Virginia coming up. I think they're
Oklahoma too.
Oklahoma,
and then
I'm sure those guys are halfway decent. That if he beats those guys, he could put himself back into the rankings.
You could put him in the conversation.
He's going to drop because I could guarantee you one thing: this kid Ugalde is not going to end the season as a ranked wrestler.
No, I think he'll win.
I just don't see it.
I think he'll win a few big ones, but Pagano was the biggest negative, and you got to hope he bounces back. And there's a week in between Saturday and this weekend where they have two matches against Virginia and Oklahoma. So hopefully he rebounds, and I'm sure he will because that's just the nature of his game. But he needs to string together some consistency. Otherwise, he's going to be in the same position he was last year, where he'll qualify just barely for the tournament, and he'll be out after 2 or 3 matches. So it remains to be seen. We'll give you more Rutgers wrestling after next week, and also Rutgers football, because they're both competing now. All right, we'll take a quick break. On the other side, we got about 20 minutes left. We'll talk a little college football and some NFL to end this show. Make sure to keep it locked. Listen to the opening drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org. Welcome back inside the opening drive. 8:42. The clock's messing me up now. We have 18 minutes to go. Talk a little college football and NFL. Nick Kosko alongside Mike Antosiewicz as always. What are you laughing at over there? Is it a funny commercial?
Yeah, funny commercial.
Funny commercial? Let's talk a little college football, Mike. And when I get the rankings came out last week, and there was not too much going on except that Ohio State just got dismantled by Iowa. It seems like if you're one of these big teams and you go to Iowa, it's like a death sentence. It's very hard to win there for some reason.
I mean, remember Penn State? That earlier
they almost lost.
They almost lost that one. And Iowa, they have that linebacker, Jewell, I think his name is, the middle linebacker.
Right.
That guy's fantastic. I mean, that guy's absolutely unbelievable. They have some really talented players on that team. They don't have any superstars or people that will be superstar or have that type of quality to them, right? They're a blue collar state. They're
right.
Or not even blue collar. A farming, laboring state, and that's how they play their football.
Hey,
it works for them.
They just play, Mike.
But
they just play football.
It works for them. Kirk Ferentz, I think, is an absolutely.
I think he's a good head coach.
Yeah, I think he's a really good head coach.
Really good head coach. And this all but ends Ohio State's chances for the college football playoff. Mike, they're going to drop. They got blown out. They are going to drop, and everybody else won.
So what happens next week? They have Michigan State. If they beat Michigan State, then they're ahead in the division, right? Then they have Illinois. Let's say they beat Illinois. Okay, then they're still ahead in the division. Then the last game of the year is against Michigan. I think they're going to beat Michigan. So they lead the division. They go into the conference championship, right?
Yeah.
After beating Michigan State, a ranked team, a pretty high ranked team, they're going to go up in the rankings now, and Michigan, which is not a no slouch team. Then you go Wisconsin. Let's say could be like 5th in the country at that point or something.
The problem is,
and then let's say they demolish Wisconsin.
Mike, the problem.
I don't think they're going to make it, but my point is, I don't think it's clear.
The problem is they're not going. The committee's not going to take a 2-loss team. Wisconsin at this point has the best chance to go in,
especially because Oklahoma beat them in probably
that's
loss.
what I mean. And Oklahoma won a shootout over Oklahoma State. So let's look at these now. The Big Ten, I think their only hope now is Wisconsin, and I think Wisconsin needs to win out. Obviously, Wisconsin needs to finish undefeated, and they need to win a convincing Big Ten championship game to have a chance.
But I'll tell you one thing. I think Wisconsin goes down to Michigan State, Ohio State, or Penn State, who no matter who makes it to the...
Yeah, I mean, you never know. All right, we'll run down the rankings. Last week, we'll give you the top 10 here. Georgia, Bama, Notre Dame, Clemson's 4. Those are playoff teams as of last week. Oklahoma 5, Ohio State 6, Penn State
Notre
7.
Dame should not be... I can't stand this
TCU
team.
8, Wisconsin 9, Miami 10. All right, Georgia 1, Bama 1. They'll be 1 and 2 again. I don't think they're going to switch them just because they both won. They'll leave it. So Georgia... all right, so this week it'll be Georgia, Bama 1 and 2. Notre Dame 1.
I'll drop them out. Who's Notre Dame playing? I hope Miami kills them.
They do play this week. Notre Dame beat Wake Forest.
Oh, how impressive.
But Notre Dame will stay.
Can we go back to Notre Dame's schedule real quick?
Sure.
Okay, let's see. Oh, they beat Temple. They lost to Georgia. Congratulations.
By a point.
There. Yeah, and Jacob Fromm's second game as a starter?
First game as a starter,
beat,
I believe.
First game as a starter. Beautiful. And they beat USC because we know how talented USC is. Fantastic. Oh, look how strong this Notre Dame team is. I can't stand this team. I really can't. And I can't stand Brian Kelly either. And I'm going to stop talking because I only have expletives to come out.
The thing with Mike, the thing with Notre Dame, I mean, I don't think they're
Where's
that...
Where's Pavlichko, by the way?
I don't think they're that great of a team. I think, should they be in the top 4 right now? Probably. Just because they've beaten, at the time, ranked opponents, USC, NC State.
They haven't beaten a top 10 team.
USC, NC
What's Wisconsin
State.
ranked right now?
Wisconsin's number 9, according from last week.
Wisconsin's number 9. Okay.
But
so if Wisconsin can't crack the top 5 and they're in the Big Ten and they're undefeated, now again,
Wisconsin has a cake schedule, Mike.
I understand, but why is that considered? I can't stand
Notre Dame has a better schedule. They only lost to Georgia, who's the number 1 team, by a point.
Please.
Mike, that's a good loss. You have to go by what the committee's doing. Michigan State now, it's a better win because now they're winning, and they killed them on the road. Again, Miami of Ohio, Boston College, just terrible. They're not good wins. They should be beating those teams. They're at UNC. UNC's not a great team, but it's on the road. They're going to count that. USC, they destroyed them when USC was so ranked. That counts for something. NC State, still a decent team. They'll still be a top 25 team, and they beat them handily too. I get Wake Forest, not really that good, but they beat them by double digits, and because they won again, Notre Dame's
gave 36 points at home to 37 points at home to Wake Forest.
I understand that, Mike, but I personally want to factor in closer big wins. But the committee's not going to do that. And the thing with Notre Dame, Mike,
I got to be honest,
Mike, they're 8-1. They're independent. They're Notre Dame.
Yeah,
their only loss was to Georgia by a single point.
Let me tell you one thing.
The committee is going to weigh that. That is why they are in the top 4. They have 3 ranked games on their schedule, 2-1 in ranked games, and they beat 2 top 15 opponents at the time. And they destroyed you. The fact that they destroyed USC and they destroyed Michigan State. Michigan State is now moving up the rankings. That's a better win. So it's going to count for Notre Dame here. That is why they're going to be in the top. That's why they're in the top 4. The top 3 are not going to change. It's going to be Georgia, Bama, Notre Dame. They all won. They all won handily. The top 3 are not going to change this week. Actually, the playoff might not even change because Clemson won again. But unless they put Oklahoma over them, because Oklahoma won a shootout over Oklahoma State, which was a 5 versus 11 matchup. That's the only way the top 4 changes. I don't think it changes. Georgia, Bama, they won. Notre Dame won. It'll stay like that. Clemson and Oklahoma. Let's look at Clemson's game this weekend. I believe they play NC State. They did, and they beat NC State by they beat by a touchdown. So it's going to be interesting to see if the committee weighs this victory, number 4 Clemson over number 20 NC State, more than Oklahoma's shootout victory over number 11 Oklahoma State. They beat them by 10 though on the road. So that's why I think maybe
that will be very interesting.
I think Oklahoma might jump them now as they won on the road.
I think Oklahoma has a very good chance to jump them. But let me tell you one thing, Nick. It won't be totally as long as as long as Alabama's in the college football playoff, because I'm a Bama fan.
I want.
I don't care.
So am I. I want
don't-
Bama, Georgia.
I don't care if Notre Dame gets in, because Georgia or Alabama will obliterate them.
I'm not saying Notre Dame's going to win the national championship. I'm saying that right now.
I'm not saying.
I'm saying right now they deserve to be in the playoffs.
That's the one saving grace, in my opinion. For me, as someone that does not like Notre Dame, they will get destroyed. They will get
i.e. the championship game back when it was still the BCS when they got dismantled by Alabama in the championship.
My God,
absolutely. So the top 4 might not change. Clemson and Oklahoma might flip. That's pretty much it, but it's going to stay relatively the same. However, below the top 4, when you look at 5 and 6, I mean, I think the top 5 we're going to say the same teams, but then Clemson and Oklahoma might flip here. But here's the thing, Mike. Penn State's going to drop. They just lost again. They will drop. Where was Michigan State? Michigan State was number 24. They're going to shoot up the rankings now. Mike, Michigan State beat Penn State on the road. I believe that was on the road. Was that on the road this weekend, Michigan State? No, they were at home. Okay, so Michigan State beat Penn State at home, but they upset them. That was 24-7. Michigan State's going to shoot right up into the top 15 at least. Penn State will drop. TCU, they have an off week or they play. They played, right? Yeah, they played. So they'll stay. They'll stay up there. I'm going to say right now, Mike, top 5 will stay the same. Ohio State and Penn State are going to drop. You might see a TCU team at 6, Wisconsin 7, Miami 8. Oklahoma State lost. Washington won, right? They'll move up. They'll be 9. I think Washington will be 9. I think Virginia Tech lost, or did they win? They lost to Miami, so they'll drop. I'm trying to think who's going to be top 10 now. Could be Auburn, I think, lost. Well, they won. You might see Auburn go from 14 to 10 now, Mike. Unless they think that Michigan State win is so huge, they'll project Michigan State to the top 10 here.
Well, listen. The only thing to talk about in terms of playoff is going to be Clemson or Oklahoma. Who's going to get in, who's going to get out. Next week will be more interesting because Notre Dame is playing Miami.
Of course. And we still have a long way to go. You got to remember, we still have a long way to go, Mike.
Now let's shift to the, I think, most important question for the New York sports fan in terms of the NFL. Is Eli Manning actually going to get benched?
No,
is there actually going to be a quarterback change?
No, you know why? Because I honestly think this is McAdoo's fault. Eli has no playmakers out there. They don't have any.
Well, I mean, that's not McAdoo's fault. They all got injured. So that isn't McAdoo's fault.
I get that. But McAdoo's play calling and his management of the team.
Oh, he doesn't play call anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter. His designs for the offense. It's his offense, Mike.
No, yes.
It's his offense, and he's still trying to do things that are unorthodox for a team with no playmakers now because they're all hurt. You know, the Giants are such a mess right now. I think he's lost the locker room. You know, you look at it. I hate talking about the Giants. They're terrible. Eli's not going to get benched. They're not going to do that. They will not do that to Eli. What do you think they're going to have any more success if they bench Eli and they put in Geno Smith or Davis Webb?
No, I think either way.
There's no way they do that.
If this team wins 2 more games this year, I think it's an accomplishment.
They're in
really bad
Mike.
ground.
They're en route for the number 1 pick.
I really thought that they're going to have a strong showing against LA. I thought LA had to come across country from the other coast.
You see, everybody was saying that, and I said, you know what? The Rams are going to beat them now because everyone's saying that.
I didn't say that Rams were going to lose. I just thought it would be a close game.
I understand that.
You know what I mean?
I'm saying most of these so-called experts were saying, oh, the Rams have to travel across the country. It's a 1:00 game. The Giants are at home.
Which is bizarre, too.
Of course, yeah. But of course, you're going to say, okay, the Giants should be competitive or even win this game. And once everybody was saying that, I was like, you know what? The Rams are going to win because the Rams are a pretty good team this year. And I think they showed it.
They're a very good team, the Rams. They're
in first place in the NFC West.
They're unproven. They're a very good team, the Rams. But I just thought a team coming up from outside the country, the Giants' defense is not great. It's not the worst defense in the world. You know, you're at home. Maybe Eli could make something work because you're in your home building. Again, it's a 1:00 game. And I was thinking, you know what? I think there's a chance the Giants could cover the spread. And then right before the game, I thought to myself, you know, I thought they were going to cover the spread for Seattle too. And then Seattle pulled away at the end there. Should I change it? I didn't change it, but they look bad. Overall, I think that I said this at one point that I think that these injuries are going to be an issue for the Giants because there's going to be an excuse at the end of the year from this administration, which means GM and head coach that. Well, you know what? We didn't have the players we picked, the players we wanted. We didn't have them this year because of these injuries, and it's going to mask a few things. I think if they continue playing like this, though, it doesn't mean anything. Those injuries, it's not going to give Reese or McIntyre an excuse at all.
No, they should both be fired now.
I think both of them are going to be gone, especially if you have the number 1 pick. Because
you want a new regime in there.
Because you want a new regime for that, and I told you
they're
before.
They're going to draft the quarterback. Like, they will draft the quarterback.
Right. Well, they do have Davis Webb. Is
I know,
he the
but
heir apparent?
Who knows?
And I said this new regime.
A new coach might want Rosen, Darnold, any of those guys.
This new regime, you're not going to give out the first round, the number 1 pick in the draft is not going to Sam Darnold. He is not that good, Nick. He is not that good.
Right now, I'm not concerning myself over your Darnold opinions because even though I lobby for the Jets to take him this year, but the college quarterbacks are not showing
He's
much.
He's probably going to be he might be on the board when the Jets pick, and the Jets might pick like 10 this year. I really mean.
Well, the college quarterbacks are not showing much this year. Darnold is not having a good year. Rosen can't stay healthy. He's also inconsistent. And Josh Allen, I mean, he played. I get Carson Wentz, my man, was an FCS quarterback in North Dakota State, and that's what Josh Allen's an FCS quarterback in Wyoming. So you never know. I think out of all of them, to be honest with you, I think Allen has the most potential because of his physique, his intangibles. None of them are playing well. That's the fact. None of them are playing well. Rosen, to me, gets hurt too often. He's inconsistent. Darnold is having a down year. He might even go back to school. Might be the smart thing. Because I don't think anybody's draft stock is going down though, because there's still quarterback needy teams out there, and of course the Browns will take something.
Then again, honestly, who thought Mitch Trubisky would have been drafted that high? So,
well, that's also true. Mitch Trubisky, and he looks decent. Looks decent.
Very decent.
Looks decent. All right, so
many interesting things with
I'm sick of the Giants. Let's talk teams that are actually good.
Okay. By the way, another team that has to change.
How about your Jets winning on Thursday?
They looked okay.
They're 4-5, right?
I think they finished with 7 wins. And another team that needs a change of pace, change of aesthetic. The Baltimore Ravens. They need to shake things up there too. They look really stagnant.
This could be the end of the Harbaugh-Flacco era, or the tail end of it here.
I think their
tail end of it here.
I think their time has expired. Let's just go down the coast again, just this East Coast, Eastern Seaboard. Tampa, my God,
they're terrible.
Oh
my God.
I mean, we've been looking at each other dumbfounded, like, what happened to Lovie Smith? Why, I feel so bad.
My question is, why
get rid of him? Because this their cutter guy. I understood why
they thought he was a genius.
No, they thought that
seriously. They thought there was going to be
a lot of options for him, and they thought that he in the building was more important for Lovie in the building. So they fired Lovie and promoted him to head coach so that he would stay in the building.
Well, it's certainly backfiring.
It's not working.
I mean, Lovie's not doing well in Illinois right now, but
Winston's not.
He's not looking good right now.
He's not.
I love Winston. He's not good.
I know he's a little bit banged up.
He's not good.
Not look good at all, but it's also the maturity issue. It's not just physically there. There seems to be a maturity issue.
You see the altercations this weekend?
And Mike Evans was absolutely that was despicable. I hope he gets suspended at least for a game.
I didn't even see what he did. I saw Winston's reaction to it. I didn't even see what Mike Evans did. I was more focused on the A.J. Green, Jalen Ramsey.
Oh, that was crazy, too.
That was unbelievable.
But
Ramsey started it, though. He shoved the guy, but what do you expect A.J. Green to do? I mean, he shouldn't have chokeholded the guy and brought him down.
That was in
but you know what? It's that. I want to get to the good teams before we wrap up here.
The Seattle era is. I'm not saying it's over, but
they're shaky.
But it's teetering.
They're shaky right now.
It's teetering. And if they don't improve,
how do you lose at home to Washington?
And you know what I don't understand too? It's like, Nick, I would have bet the thousands of dollars that Rich Sheldon Richardson would have went to Seattle. He would have been in the right atmosphere that would have controlled him. I thought he was going to have 15 sacks this year.
He's not doing much.
I thought at a minimum he was going to have like 9 sacks.
He's
at
not
minimum.
He's not doing much.
He's not doing anything. And that's what tells you a lot for me. That's a good barometer, right, for the football stand.
A talented guy like that in Seattle, not doing well.
A talented guy like that on a perfect situation, on the perfect defense for him, and things not clicking. That locker room, things
shows
are
something.
not clicking in the locker room. It definitely shows you
something.
something.
So before we wrap up the show, Mike, let's talk about the good teams. My Philadelphia Eagles, 8-1. God, they look good. 51-23 over the Denver Broncos. Denver has one of the better defenses in the NFL. They put up, Mike, they were 44-9 and they were coasting. That's the reason why the Broncos scored 14 more points. One was a defensive touchdown, of course, too. But, they were coasting at that point. They were up 44-9 in the third quarter, and Nick Foles came in. That's how you know the Eagles are just rolling. Eagles are the best record in the NFL. I would say at this point, even though they lost to Kansas City.
Oh, by the way, one last thing. This point needs to be made. Did you see that L.A. scored on a touchdown on 3rd and 33?
I saw that was a Sammy Watkins touchdown.
No,
Yeah, it
No,
was.
it was a Robert Woods touchdown.
was Robert Woods?
It was a screen on 3rd and 33,
I saw the
and
touchdown.
he scored a 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah, it's-
When that happens, everything is
You fire
it's
everybody.
done.
You fire everybody before the game's over.
You
That's
fire
what happens.
everybody during. I don't even know if it was in the first half, second half. People need to go.
Yeah,
after that.
you got to fire everybody before the game's over. All right, the Eagles won. I think they're the best team in the NFL. My bias aside, they're rolling right now. Kansas City.
They're one of the best teams. Obviously.
Mike, Kansas City has lost 3 in a row. Can you believe that? They were 6-0. Then they've lost 3 in a row. Kansas City's going down a little bit. So look quickly at this playoff standings at the halfway point, a little bit past halfway point. Pittsburgh and New England are 1-2, tied 6-2. Kansas City's 3 at 6-3. Tennessee now, they won again. I mean, they're not really that good, but they're playing in a bad division. Marcus Mariota, if he gets healthy, I think that'll be the best team in the division. They're 5-3. They lead the AFC South. How about the Jaguars? They're 5-3. They're in the playoffs right now.
That's amazing.
And the Bills are still 5-3. They lost and they're still in the playoffs.
The Jets beat the Jaguars and the Jets beat the Bills, and the Jets had a 2-touchdown lead against Miami. Right?
Can you imagine?
3 weeks ago, if the Jets held a 2-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter against Miami, you know what? They're in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
They're the 6th seed.
Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. All right, that's going to do it for us. Make sure to tune in next week, 8 to 9 a.m. for the opening drive. For Mike Antosiewicz, I am Nick Kosko saying so long. Tune in next week. Have a good day, everybody. Listening to the opening drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org.